It's the Ed Bernstein Show, Home Edition. Now, here's your host, Ed Bernstein.
Well, it's all about the Golden Knights, and that time of the year is finally here. We've been waiting for this. What is it, January 6th, I think, or 3rd? Training camp is 3rd. First games, I think, are January 13th. We'll see. Still up in the air. With me to talk about it, though, is Dave Goucher, my joke, and Gary Lawless. Thank you, guys, and I miss both of you so much. What have you been doing?
Well, we miss seeing you too, Ed, especially at T-Mobile. It's been such a strange time for all of us. It's starting to pick up a little bit. And you mentioned some of the dates, and you're right. January 3rd, they're going to start camp, and looks like the Golden Knights opener is going to be January 14th in Vegas against Anaheim. So, we've been trying the best we can to stay busy, whether it's doing things on social media. As you know, the Golden Knights are pretty active in that area, so we've done a lot of different things on the social media channels. Gary's always, busy writing different features and different columns. So we've tried the best we can, first in that pause, and then obviously they got going again, restarting the season, but now that's been over for a little while now. So, boy, no time like the present. Hopefully the sooner the better they can start playing games again.
It's been a really interesting time to look at yourself, your skills in the workplace, because we've had to alter the way we do things, and we've had to see which things were valuable and which things weren't. And it's also been on a personal side, it's been an opportunity for me to do a lot of things with my daughter that normally I miss. I'd missed Halloween the last couple of years. I was able to go door to door with her this year. She's a young aspiring hockey player. I've been able to take her to all of our power skating, and it's fun to lace up your daughter's skates and to tape her stick, and then to go and sit there in the stands and watch her do her thing. So as horrible as this has been, we're over 300,000 deaths here in this country. You have to live your own life, and you have to do your best. And that part of it has been, rewarding for me. On the other side of it is, I haven't seen my mother and father, who are both in their 80s, in over a year. I haven't seen my older brother and my older sister in that same time frame. And I told Dave this. We were golfing the other day. There's a movie called Fred Claus, and Paul Giamatti plays Santa Claus, and Vince Vaughn plays his erstwhile brother Fred. And the story goes, and at the end, Giamatti says to Vince Vaughn, you're the best older brother a guy could have. And my older brother is my best friend, and I haven't seen him in over a year. And I'm in this theater that a friend of ours had rented. It's just a small group of us social distancing, and I'm weeping watching this stupid Disney-esque Christmas movie, and I'm literally weeping in the theater. So it's been a very emotional time, and hopefully we really are near the end of this, and we can all get a vaccine, and we can all get back to T-Mobile. And as much as people like to hear Dave Goucher call the games on the television, and Shane and Dan Duva and myself in our various roles, people want to go and watch that team live, and I know you love it, Ed.
Yeah, Gary, you bring up an interesting point, because for a lot of us, it's very confusing. Who has what role over there? I mean, you talked about Stormy and Mike and you and Shane and Dave and other Dave. What is everybody's role?
Dave is the play-by-play television voice of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Shane Knighty is the television color analyst. Dan Duva is the radio play-by-play man, and I am the color analyst. Stormy is our rinkside reporter. Darren Millard is our television host, and Mike McKenna and Darren Elliott are our studio analysts. We all work for the Golden Knights, and we also all have roles. We don't just have our TV roles and our radio roles. We have social media roles. We have, I write for the team website. We all do a little bit of everything. It's a big team, and we the media market in Vegas in terms of hockey is different than Toronto or Boston or or Arizona, like better than it is in Arizona, but different than some of those other more established markets. So we hired a really experienced team. Dave did radio for the Boston Bruins for 17 years. Shane was an excellent NHL player and did television nationally and regionally in Canada. I was a columnist for major newspaper for a long time, and then had a role with TSN, which is ESPN Canada. So we brought really experienced people and gave them principal roles, but also we have them doing a whole bunch of other things as well.
And Ed, you're whether you like it or not, you're stuck with us. So it's we've loved it. It's been as Gary said, we all came from outside of Stormy, who's a Vegas native. We all came from somewhere else for this opportunity, and I think that just personally speaking, it was too much to pass up. I mean, to be able to come and be part of this first ever major league team in Vegas, be part of the first ever TV team. None of us thought, we sit here now, and especially where the world is now, but if you backed up the calendar to the summer of 2017, look, we hoped it was going to be a great experience, but no one ever would have dreamed they were going to do what they've done here for 3 years. So, and they've set themselves up long term. They're so ingrained in the community. What I love about it the most, Ed, is people love this team. They love this team, and you're part of that, where you can't go 5 minutes without seeing a Golden Knights hat, T-shirt, bumper sticker, jersey, or jerseys now. They've got the gold jersey. They've got the retro jersey. So that's what I love the most, especially as Gary said, I came from Boston where they're an original 6 team with, deep roots. He was in Winnipeg, deep roots there in Canada. To be able to come here and be part of this from, that first year forward has been unbelievable.
Hey, Ed, I got a question for you.
Yes.
You're a Philly guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a Flyers fan, and when you heard the Golden Knights were coming, obviously you have a business relationship with the team, but it's more than that for you. I know you're a big fan. Did you take that Bobby Clark jersey off the wall and, kind of put it at the back of the closet right away? Or did you wait a while? Because right now you're a Golden Knights fan, are you not?
Of course.
Yes.
And by the way, you're stealing my question. It was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys about Boston and Winnipeg. But I got to tell you, in answer to your question, I grew up in Philadelphia. I remember when the Flyers came into the league in '67, and then when I was going to law school, I went to law school in Delaware. I lived in Philadelphia, and I worked during the day, and I worked myself through law school, but I drove down to Delaware every evening to go to law school, listening to Flyer games, going down and coming back. Listening, quite honestly, Dave, because this is why we love you. One of the reasons I love you guys so much. Listening to Gene Hart, who was the announcer for the Flyers at that time. And as a kid, I guess a lot of boys do this. As a kid, you're playing ball, hitting the ball against a wall or something, and you're making believe you're narrating a baseball game or a hockey game. We all kind of do that. But I got to tell you, I have tried, Dave, to turn off the sound of my TV and do a play-by-play on hockey, and it is impossible.
No, it's not hard at all. Any idiot could do it. Come on.
That's what I say. And look, any moron could do this job.
No. I mean, even seeing the numbers on them, the names on the players, and saying them that quickly. You're unbelievable. Both of you guys are just so unbelievable. You're talking about how you love Vegas because of the fans. Well, the fans love you guys as well as the team. I mean, you're all part of everything. And but I wanted to shift gears a little bit and ask you about this team. A lot of us felt sad when we lost some players over the last year. Stastny, Schmitty, Cousins, even Englund, right? And what happened with Fleury. I mean, a lot of people were emotionally invested in this team. Now, when I'm looking at, and I know it's sad, and I know you had personal relationships with a lot of these players, particularly with Schmitty and Stastny and some of these guys, but you're adults, and it's part of your career and part of what you do. I mean, players come and go, they deal with it as well. But I was a little bit depressed when we lost some of these guys. But as I've been looking at our lines, and I look at our four lines, our four hockey lines, and I look at how strong they are now, it's very encouraging, I have to say. Let's talk about it for a moment. I mean, the projected first line: Pacioretty, Carlson, and Stone. Probably one of the best lines, one of the best in the league, right?
Yeah,
I've got Glass in there, not Carlson, but
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. And what's the rest of your lineup? I want to hear your lineup.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
I have Glass on the second line with Marchessault and Smith.
It's a good spot too.
Okay. On the third line, I have Roy with Stevenson and Tuck.
Yeah.
And on the fourth line, I have Nosek, Carrier, and Reeves.
Sounds about right.
Who has longer hair now? Everybody has longer hair on that team.
That's right. Yeah, I think, Dave, and to your earlier point about, look, would we all love to have kept the team from year one, that whole gang of misfits? Sure. But it doesn't work that way, right? When guys move on, and we've seen that not just from year one, but, even just since this last season ended with some, as you mentioned, some guys and really core guys. When you think about Nate Schmidt and you think about Derek Englund and Paul Stastny moving on for whatever the reasons may be, retirement or trade. I do think the Golden Knights have done a heck of a job, though, of trying to continue to make this team better. They were not going to sit on their laurels from that first year. They tried to get better with each passing season. Add Stone, add Pacioretty, add Leonard, add Martinez, sign Pietrangelo. So, and that's just the way I think, we've all been around pro sports long enough. It is a business. It's how it works. But they are, George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon and that whole group, they're in it right now to win this. This isn't, Gary and I remember the Ottawa Senators of the early 90s coming into the NHL. Their first year, they won 10 games. It was terrible, terrible hockey. But you shouldn't have to be bad for 5 or 6 or 7 years as an expansion team before you have a crack at being really good. So look, they kind of got lightning in a bottle that first year, made a magical run to the final. And as I said earlier, that set them up now for years and years to come. It's a destination for players. When you're getting players like Alex Pietrangelo to sign as a free agent here, among others over the last few years, and others that have elected to stay long-term, you're doing something right on a lot of different levels. And they've done that. And they've done that over these last 3+ years now.
We have recency bias, I guess, is we get caught up in the moment that we're in right now. And if we had had this conversation before the Golden Knights had ever played a game, and I had said to you, they are going to go to the Stanley Cup final and to the Final Four twice in their first 3 seasons, you would have looked at me like I was crazy.
Crazier than usual.
Crazier than usual, exactly. And this management team, so we just talked about our broadcast group. Well, some of these people that, that we don't hear a lot about, Von Karpen, Jim McKenzie, Bobby Lowe's, Scott Luce, all these people that that make up our hockey operations staff and that, provide McCrimmon and McPhee with the information and the analysis of what's out there, what's available, and what we should get. These are the very best in the business. Yeah. Von Karpen has helped build a number of high caliber organizations, and Bobby Lowe's, for my money, is the best amateur scout in the business. The work they've done behind the scenes has put McPhee and McCrimmon in a position to be aggressive and to go out and as much as I like that team in the first year that went to the Stanley Cup final, the team the Vegas Golden Knights have right now on paper is a better team. And everybody else in the NHL gets better as well. So if you just keep that same roster, you're going to fall. You're going to be in the middle of the pack. And Brian Burke, the GM turn analysis, he says you need to be one of two things. You need to be really good and going for it, or you got to be really bad. Being in that mushy middle, it's a terrible place to be. Yeah. So far the Golden Knights have been really good, and I get it that people fall in love with players. The cliche is love the crest on the front, not the name on the back, and I think that applies here.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned, we were talking about some of the moves. I should have talked about our coach, because I really liked Gallant, and but he seemed to me to be a little bit distant of a guy sometimes. I really didn't know him, but I have gotten a chance to meet and spend some time with Pete DeBoer, and he is just one hell of a guy. I mean, he is soft-spoken, nice, kind, quality, smart. I really like him a lot. I mean, he's and it seems like all these trades, I get upset about them in the beginning, but then they all turn out to be okay.
Well, I'll tell you a couple things, Ed. One is with Pete DeBoer. And this goes back. It's amazing how much it seems like it's so long ago now, considering what we've all been through in this world. But when they made the coaching change, it was mid-January. It was almost a year ago now. And Gary and I and Shane and Dan do a little podcast, the Sheriff Lawless and some guy named Dave podcast. So they make this move, and we were in Ottawa when they made the coaching change. So we did a podcast, I don't know, that day, and then another one with DeBoer the following day. And I think I said at the time, were you more surprised that they got rid of Gerard Gallant or who they brought in? Like, you couldn't make this stuff up, that here's the coach from their arch rival that, everything happened in the playoffs in 2019. But he has proven, and, we've had a little bit of an opportunity, Gary and I and Shane, to spend a little time with him here and play the occasional round of golf, just to kind of, to get to know, because we didn't really, you got to remember, he got hired in the middle of January. Then the team had the All-Star break and the bye. Then we got started up again, and then the pandemic hit in early March. So he's been, it's been fun just to kind of get to know him a little bit away from that, that bubble's probably the pressure cooker of being in a rink, and it's been, and the results have shown, when he took over before the pause, and then, them going to the conference final.
Yeah. And, he's look, I mean, you can't argue with the job he's done. I can remember how much I disliked him when I didn't know him, when he was sitting on that San Jose bench on the other side, particularly in that semifinal game in the last Game 7 when we had that 5-minute major penalty, and I was watching him gloat a little bit.
I've tried to block that out of my mind, Ed, but thanks for reminding me. That's terrific.
What Dave left out was, when we did do that podcast, so I've known Pete DeBoer since 2005 when I covered Team Canada, and he was one of the coaches. But he obviously was the one of the villains in San Jose in that series. So he gets to Ottawa, we shake hands. He's got a lot of work to do. We don't really spend a lot of time with him. We get to Montreal, which is the next city on the trip, and Eric Tosi, our boss, arranges 10 minutes. That's all you guys got. Pete's got meetings. He'll come and do 10 minutes with you guys. Great. So we're in this boardroom at the Ritz-Carlton in Montreal, and we're sitting around it. Pete comes in. We ask him a couple of questions. And then Goucher, like, we barely said hi to the guy. He goes, admit it, it wasn't a major. And Pete, like, just starts to laugh and goes, well, now I can say it wasn't a major. No, it wasn't.
I just figured, Ed, we had to talk about the elephant in the room. Like, how do you not?
We're lucky we ever got him to talk to us again.
That's right. Yeah, boy, what a jerk that guy is. I mean, he's not the first person to say that, but
fair enough.
Hey, how's our hero Marc-Andre? Is he emotionally okay? Is his feelings hurt? Is he disappointed? What's your take on that?
Well, I've actually spent a little time with them away from the rink. Just so happened that our kids were at the same Halloween party, and that different setting. We had both of us were enjoying a cocktail, and he's fine. Listen, when you are that great a player, and he's going to the Hall of Fame, he's one of the best goalies that have ever played the game. He's got the Stanley Cups and came very close to getting another one here. You don't want anyone to take your job. You don't. If someone says you're not the number one guy anymore, you don't want to believe that. And I'm sure he still doesn't. I'm sure Marc-Andre Fleury, and that's what makes him so great, that competitive fire, he believes that he's a number one goalie, and he is. This is going to be a season. I've had a look at the schedule, and there are 8 back-to-backs, I believe. There's, everything is condensed. We need both guys. And this is throw all this emotion about, who's number one and all of that other junk. Throw it away. The number one goal is to win and to win a Stanley Cup. And because the Vegas Golden Knights have Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury, they have a better goaltending situation than any other team in the NHL. That should be the first reaction. Wow, look how great they are in net. It's expensive. They've got $12 million going against an $81 million salary cap, all in that crease. There's going to be either $5 million or $7 million on the bench every night. There's a cost to that. But if it results in winning a whole bunch of games, and both guys are going to be very important, that to me is the story. And this is an advantage, not a negative, not from my perspective.
Yeah, well said. What's it like, Dave, Gary, calling a game with no fans in the stands?
Yeah, well, I will say it was weird. We came back after the return to play, and Shane and I did the first 3 games we did from 3 different locations. The first one we did was at City National Arena. We have a studio there, so that was strange. The problem we ran into there was AT&T Sportsnet, who carries our games here. They're based in Denver, so you had the game being played in Edmonton, run through Denver, and then transmitted to Vegas. So we were getting, the Twitter machine they're just lovely, and we were getting tweets from people that said, "Hey, don't you know you're 5 seconds behind the play?" Well, I thought to myself, I'm usually not that bad. I'm usually only 3 seconds behind the play. So, but what happened? So we couldn't, we had technical problems the first game. The second game we went to Denver to AT&T and did it there, and that was a great setup. But we didn't want to get into flying in the middle of this pandemic, and didn't feel like that was the wisest thing. So the last bunch of games we did was at T-Mobile, and I will say that was pretty surreal. As you know, that building is the most electrifying building in the NHL. So to walk in there, and where our perch is there, right atop section 16, to walk in that building completely empty, no ice down. There was, concrete, the cement, they had taken the ice out, and have maybe 10 to 12 people in the building, some people affiliated with our broadcasts and audio and video people, and that was it. And they wheeled a big, probably 56-inch, 60-inch screen in front of Shane and I. And that's what we called the game off of. So you just had to kind of try to generate your own energy and excitement. But whatever you were seeing on the screen, that's what we were seeing. There was no, you were so limited. So, but, under those circumstances, it was, it was better than nothing.
They built a radio studio at City National Arena for Dan Dubin and I. And we had 3 50-inch screens, a bank of them, each with a different view. One of them just with the clock, because the clock is so important to a radio call. There's no bug on the screen that explains that. So the clock tells a big part of the story for Dan. And then we had some computer screens with some other things. And we had, these were all on different streams. And then we had a stream in our ears that was the ambient noise from the rink. So the puck hitting the boards, the puck hitting the post. That was the big one, because sometimes the picture would get ahead or behind of the sound. And Dan would be describing, something, and then the puck would hit the post. So because the sound in our ear was ahead, and then he'd say, "Oh, and he shoots. Oh, he hit the post." We'd already heard the ding off the post. So that mix, we had 3 people working, 2 radio engineers and a guy running the pictures, constantly tweaking and adjusting. And then sometimes Dan's a perfectionist, and I am easily distracted. So Dave's laughing.
This is true.
So if the picture, if it wasn't mixing, that would throw me off a little bit and get me off of my game. And if Dan, and I'm not telling tales out of school, Dan has a temper, and if it wasn't perfect, he wasn't happy. And then obviously he's the utmost professional, but we'd go to a break and he would be, "We got to fix this, and we got to fix it now." And maybe there were some other words. And so we got better and better as it went. And by the end, it was seamless. But it was, we were always a second away from complete catastrophe. Because the train was going down the tracks, but we had to keep switching the tracks. And if we didn't switch, off we were going.
And maybe one quick footnote, Ed, is we're not sure what it's going to look like when they start playing games here soon. I do think if the Golden Knights are at home at T-Mobile, I think we're more than likely we will be in the building, which will be great. On the road, not so much. We could be in that scenario again of calling it off monitors. I guess the good thing is we had plenty of experience doing it back over the summertime.
You guys have it down pat by now. Hey, we have about 30 seconds left. Just wanted to get what is your optimism for this coming season? Do we win our division?
Well, I'll tell you this, Ed, their division got much more difficult with this little realignment. It wasn't little. They've got to take on Colorado now and St. Louis 8 times. They're going to play everyone in the division 8 times, including, Minnesota's in that mix too. But you're talking Colorado.
Almost like a playoff. It becomes almost like a playoff.
Yeah. Where you go from playing them, say, 3 times a year in normal times to now 8 times a year. So, they won.
He asked you if we have 30 seconds, and he asked you if you're going to win the division.
Yes or no? Yes or no, Dave?
Yes, but it's going to be much more difficult than
harder.
It was a few weeks ago.
No, they won't win the division. Yes, they'll win the Stanley Cup.
There we go.
Ooh.
And more, and I would think more rivalries and more fights.
There'll be
Since
some
playing team more.
Yeah, quite possible.
Thank you so much. Dave Goucher, Gary Lawless, thank you so much. And good luck. Hey, see you guys on the ice.
That'd be great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.